All right, welcome to U4A5, coming up with equations of lines. So this one's a bit trickier. There's some good math involved here. So the key is we need to know what we're looking for, and that's that equation. Y equals mx plus b. And let's just go over everything here. What that means is we're going to have an equation that is y equals some number times x plus some number. The first some number is m, and that's our slope. Okay, so we have to figure out our slope. And once we know the slope, we need to know also b, which is our second sum number, as I put it so eloquently earlier. And that is going to be your y-intercept. So if you knew the y-intercept and you know the slope, then you're laughing. So if I say, hey, guys, this goes through the point 0.02 or has a y-intercept of 2 and has a slope of -3, then you're done. Okay, very simple. Okay, so of course it's going to get harder than that. So sometimes we don't know what one of these things, either M or B, and then we have to work our way through to figure out what M is and what B is. Sometimes we don't know either. Okay, but you'll be given a couple pieces of information. So here's one question. If I have a slope, and that says slope of 5, and I pass through the point 2,9, what is the equation of the line that I'm dealing with? So I go through the point 2,9. So let's cheat a bit, and then we'll pretend we can't graph later and use algebra to come up with this. But if I go through the point 2,9 and I have a slope of 5, that means the first point is, if I go back here, okay, to 1, I went from 2 something to 2,9. So I went my rise over run is 5 over 1, so I went up 5 over 1. So if I went up 5, I was at 4. So I went through the point 1, 4. Okay, so up 1 over, sorry, up 5 over 1 would have a slope of 5, and that would give me a 2,9. And I could go one step further and say, okay, now let me go down 5 more here and over 1 to get to 0. So my intercept is going to be -1. So the first point here is the point 0, -1, and then this would be this, and that would be there, and then my equation is going to be y equals mx plus b. My slope, I said, was 5. My intercept was -1. So that's my equation. So I'm cheating, but now that's where I'm going to. I'm going to 5x minus 1. And how I'm going to do that is through the use of just basic algebra. So let's write down what we know. We have y equals mx plus b. I know m, sorry, but I don't know b. But I do know one extra thing. So I'm getting there. Like, I'm almost there. I just need this to be -1. But what I do know is I know that this point exists on this line. So if this point exists on this line, then this is my x value, my y value of the point. Then if I sub these in here, I should be able to solve for b. Okay, so what I'll do here is I'll sub negative, so what you do is you sub 2,9 in for x, y. So where you see a y, you put a 9, and where you see an x, you put a 2. So I put 9 is equal to 5 times 2 plus b. And now I just solve for b. So 9 is equal to, sorry, little pen issue there, 10 plus b. I have b over here. I want it by itself to solve for it. I have a 10. It's adding to the b, so I bring it across by subtracting it. And I end up with -1 is equal to b. And then when I write the equation, I have y equals mx plus b, which is plus -1. Okay, let me just point this out. Don't write that, okay? That's fine as a initial step, but whenever you have two signs, we don't want two signs side by side. So two signs, if they're not like signs, a plus and a minus becomes a minus. And there I go. And that was it, right? That was my equation. The other type of question is when you have 2 points, okay? And in that case, so let's think about what we know there. So let's go to the next page here. So I'm going to do this a little short here, down here. Let's pretend I have 2 points. So I'll just make them up. And neither point will be a intercept point. Let's make this a little bit exciting. Let's have the point -2, 3. So I have this point -2, 3 over here. And then give me the point, let me think for a second here. Give me the point 1. Yeah. -3. How's that? 1, -3. So I'm at the point 1, -3. So down here somewhere. So that's -2, 3, and 1, -3 is down here. So here's what I know. I'm going through the points -2, 3, and the point 1, -3. What's my y equals mx plus b version of this line? So I need the slope and I need the y-intercept, and I know neither of them. Now I could graph and I could find out the intercept is somewhere down here. And then I also know that I have a negative slope. So these are some things that could help me. But even if I didn't know anything, if I knew nothing, and I just had the 2 points and I didn't even plot them, I can figure out all this out. Okay. And now we're going to do that second step later. Okay. So earlier we had M and then we subbed in either point. We subbed in X and Y coordinates here for X and Y and we solve for B. We're going to do that, but we don't know slope. So, but if you have 2 points, how hard is it to find the slope? It's delta Y over delta X, right? You're changing Y over, you're changing X. Or y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. So if I call this point 1, and this is x1, y1, and this is x2, y2, I just sub in what I have here. Negative 3, y2 is negative 3, just be careful. Subtract negative 2, so that's plus 2. Okay, so it's minus 2, it gets me plus 2. So my top will end up being negative 1. What's the bottom? x2 over x, or subtract x1, I'm sorry, x2, which is 1, subtract x1, which is, did I mess it up? I did. Okay, so let's go back here a second. Ignore everything I just did. Okay, so pretend none of that ever happened before. So let's go y2, which is minus 3, subtract y1. y1 is 3, so that's subtract 3. And then on the bottom here, I have x2, which is 1, subtract x1, which this is the minus 2, which is plus 2. So let's figure out what happens here. Minus 3 is minus 6. 1 plus 2 is 3. So now I have minus 6 over 3, which is negative 2 as my cleaned up version of that. So there is my slope. So that's M. That's my slope. So now I know that this is negative 2. So I have negative 2x plus b. And now what I would do, and you would just keep going, but I have the power of the giant eraser here. And now what I'm going to do now is I'm back to where I was in the last question. If you want to go back and rewind for a bit, now I just have to find out what B is. And to do that, I'm going to sub in one of these. I'm going to sub in one of these for my Y and X. And it doesn't matter which one I do. Okay. And if you don't believe me, I'll do one, you do the other. So I'll use this one because it's closer. I mean, that's as good a reason as anything else. So my Y is negative 3. My X is 1. And my B is, I don't know. So that becomes negative 3. Negative 2 plus 3, solve for B, isolate for B, bring the negative 2 over, so then it's adding, and I'm left with this. So back up here, my B is negative 1, and so Y is equal to negative 2x minus 1. So there's my equation. Now, does that make sense? What you can do now is check to see if that's right by subbing this in here and see if the equality holds. So if I go here, if that's my equation now, and I have minus 2 and 3, when I sub in 3 for my y and minus 2 for my x, this should hold. And by hold, I mean the left side should equal the right side. So here I have 3, and here I have 2 times 2. Negative times negative is a positive, so that's 4 minus 1. 3 is equal to 3. We're in great shape. Okay, so that is the equation of the line. Okay, so that's it. Difficult stuff. I went through it kind of quickly. Take your time. Find your slope. Okay, in each case, in this case, you need to find your slope. In the case before that, you were given your slope. Then sub in to find out what B is, and then once you have that, write your equation. And don't forget, please, when you guys are writing and you write and you fill your paper up, make sure that it's obvious what your equation is at the end. Put a nice square on it. Do whatever you want. Equation is equal to whatever it is. Okay, so make sure you have a final answer. Okay, take care.